Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have something incredible to take a look at today. Something that I am so hyped, I can't even begin to tell you how hyped I am about it. We have another Last Dinosaur T-Rex. The only one that we've taken a look at so far up until this point, and in fact the only one that I've ever even seen or knew was made prior to this one, was the Creature Preacher version, and the Creature Preacher version was fantastic, but we have another version here. This one is from DopePope. Now, if you happen to have watched my Yongari review not long ago, you will have already got yourself a nice little taste of DopePope and his incredible talent that he has, but if you did not, then hopefully you'll be able to check that out now with this T-Rex, because again, it is The Last Dinosaur. If you are familiar with this film, it is a 1970s dinosaur movie. That's one of those classic man in a suit sort of movies that we all know and love, especially if you're a fan of Godzilla. You'll definitely have already probably seen this movie because the movie was pretty popular back in the day, especially when it comes to me in my household. I watched it all the time, and in fact, I still watch it all the time to this day. But just like with Creature Preacher, I think DopePope has captured the appearance of the T-Rex perfectly here, and really did his homework, obviously, when creating this, because I could see everything that I know and love about that T-Rex, the kind of hunched over look. You've just got that general man in a suit sort of look that he's captured perfectly in the sculpt of this. You also have the exceptionally long tail that T-Rex has, because the tail is just unreasonably long on that Rex in the movie. You can see he's captured that as well. And he's also created the model in a way where the tail isn't going to be like in the way of any sort of other models on your shelf, because he has it curled up and around, obviously, again, because the tail is so exceptionally long. And on top of that, he has done a really good job of adding in a lot of fine detail, like ridiculous amounts of fine detail on this. So I'm so psyched to see this in person finally. I've been kind of eyeing it up on his Instagram account for quite some time, so I'm really happy to now have it here in hand. Let's jump to a closer look at it right now. Now, of course, you can obviously tell this is an unpainted model. He creates these sculpts, he sculpts them out himself, and obviously sells the models at conventions, or you can purchase the files to print yourself, but he doesn't paint them up. So it would be on you to either send them to a paleo artist to paint them for you, or paint them yourself, and I fully intend on painting this guy before the review is up, so we'll get a good look at what it looks like with some paintwork on it. But if you come up here to the head of our Last Dinosaur T-Rex, you can see straight away, again, like I was talking about, the detail on this is phenomenal. Like, there is a lot of really nice looking skin texture throughout the course of this T-Rex, and I think more hyped just to see how good the detail looks when I get some paint on it than anything, because currently with this grayish coloration and the kind of somewhat glossy look it has, it kind of shines the detail away, so I don't think you can really appreciate how impressive the detail is on camera, especially with the light, again, just kind of glaring off of it. But you can see that the eye socket area is nicely sculpted. The eye itself is sculpted there, the nostrils as well, and there's even some creasing there around the nostrils. As you move down, you can see the mouth is sculpted in an open position. Each and every tooth sculpted individually. Incredibly impressive as far as that goes. They all have that genuine sharp look to them. On top of that, once you go inside the mouth, the tongue is sculpted out, and the detail in general, if my camera would stay focused on it, throughout the course of the inside of the mouth looks beyond impressive. Like, easily some of the nicest detail that you'll see anywhere when it comes to the inside of the mouth of a dinosaur model, and it's impressive to know that it's on a Last Dinosaur T-Rex. Again, looking at it from this side, you can also see the detailing looks great over here. As we lead up, you've got some really nice looking texturing here to the top of the head of our T-Rex here. If we turn it around and take a look from the back, again, it even has that curved back of the head exactly as you see in the film. You can tell DopePope, just like Creature Preacher, really does his homework when creating his models. On top of that, you can see like the sagginess here of the skin, which is very reminiscent to the suit used again in the film, and the way that it kind of reacted to the guy that was obviously inside moving it around, so you can see he's captured that as well, just making it look super, super screen accurate. You have more of those kind of skin folds and stuff here, as far as the suit folding, I should say, on the underside, but again, more phenomenal looking skin texture as you look throughout. As you move down here, you have more nice looking skin texture leading down into the arms. You can see that the hands are curved inward toward the body slightly. You've got the nails sculpted out as well, which look really cool. And then continuing to move down, obviously, our dinosaur is in a very upright position, a tripod position with a man in a suit-like look, obviously. You're going to expect that, so you have that going for it. You can also see almost sort of like a row of scoots that sort of run down the course of the back of the dinosaur. You can also see we've got this very big pot belly for the dinosaur, which also is something that is, completely apparent on the actual suit used in the film. And again, the texturing of the skin is incredible on this. I would actually say that the actual detailing on this is better than the suit used in the film. And that's something that I felt like was the same case for the Yongari model that DopePope made. Like, his sculpts are a higher quality than the actual suit and props used in the film, which is really, really impressive. You can see some skin here stretching off of the body as you move down into the thigh. Even though it's obviously the man in the suit type look, you almost can make out like muscle definition. You can see almost like some scales and stuff, some osteoderm-like scales here and there as you move down into the foot sculpt. The foot sculpt as well just looks perfect to what it looks like in the film, and they do show the foot quite a few times as you move through the course of the film, so we definitely have a few chances to get a good look at it, and he has captured the appearance of the feet perfectly as well. You've got the nails sculpted out, lots of kind of curvatures in the actual, again, what would be the suit, you can see is sculpted out perfectly in the foot sculpt as well. And then leading over here, you get a good look at what the other foot looks like, just as awesome as the initial foot. And again, you can see all sorts of fine detail he's added throughout the course of the model everywhere. And then, of course, you also have a dew claw back here. Before we go too far, I did want to point that out. But, of course, as you move down, you can see that the tail is, again, sculpted to perfection, where you can just kind of see that somewhat baggy look to it, that awkward appearance to it as they are moving the tail for the suit. And again, it's just so impressive how sculptors like DopePope and Creature Preacher, they always perfectly capture this. And you can see that DopePope absolutely has captured it, again, to 100% perfection in one of the most impressive ways that I've ever seen. And you can see that we also have, again, some pretty extreme curvatures to the tail and everything, helping to, give us a little bit more shelf space when it comes to this T-Rex, because the tail is so exceptionally long. You can also see the nice type of detailing here running along the underside of the Rex as well, as far as the tail. And then the opposing side, again, is going to have pretty much all that same style of sculpt and detail, but just looking at it, I don't know that I've ever seen more impressive looking skin texture on a dinosaur model, especially when it comes to a vintage dinosaur model. I am just so hyped to get some paint work on this. It is going to look so insanely cool when we get some paintwork on this. And you can obviously tell I'm very excited about this, because never in a million years did I expect to one day own a Last Dinosaur T-Rex model. Being such a massive fan of this movie growing up, I really didn't expect to be able to own two Last Dinosaur models now, again, with the previously reviewed Creature Preacher version and this now absolutely gorgeous DopePope version. So what we're going to do now is go ahead, get some paintwork on this, and then we'll check it out from there. So here is our Last Dinosaur now painted up, looking pretty cool overall. There's not a whole lot you can really do with the T-Rex from the Last Dinosaur as far as color variation or anything like that, because it's pretty much just a gray color. There's not a whole lot else going on with the T-Rex. Some images you'll see of it kind of almost give it a darker tone, almost a brownish tone, but I think that might just be the images themselves, because in the film I don't really notice that very much. So I tried to give it, again, just basically a few different variations of grays, along with a nice wash and everything, a nice darker wash, and I think it turned out pretty decent. Looks pretty much like what the dinosaur looks like in the film for the most part. You can see the inside of the mouth and everything, and how nice that looks now with that darker reddish coloration that it has going on. But honestly, you can see now, once it's actually painted, how phenomenal the sculpt is from DopePope. That is as accurate as it gets, as screen accurate as it gets to what the Last Dinosaur looks like, to what the T-Rex looks like in that film. Again, incredible job on his part, and I'm just becoming more and more of a fan of DopePope with every model I acquire from him. And looking it over now, you can see again just how phenomenal the actual detail is, how much it now stands out with that darker wash highlighting the detail, and the fact that it's no longer that kind of shiny look that it was when it had first arrived. Now with some paintwork on it, you can really again just see how beautiful the sculpt is overall, how beautiful it is when it comes to all the different skin wrinkles, skin folds, all the cracks and crevices throughout the skin texture. I've also given it some variations of like some, light browns and stuff, the territorial beige and everything to kind of give it that somewhat dirty looking appearance. You'll see those tones poking up here and there, but as a whole, I honestly couldn't be happier with the final product, having the T-Rex now painted up and everything, because it really is just an insanely beautiful, sort of an ode to The Last Dinosaur, and again is probably the best model that I now have from DopePope, even though I absolutely adore the Yongari model that I have that I've reviewed in the past from him. The Last Dinosaur is just something that holds a special place in my heart. It's a film that I watched so much. It's insane. Like, more than so many others when I was growing up, because I just, for some reason, was always in love with that movie. And I still, to this day, visit it and watch it again all the time because I just love the movie so much. Even though it's cheesy beyond belief, it just has that perfect vintage dinosaur movie style to what I grew up with. So it always just fills me with nostalgia and just gives me a great feeling overall to watch that movie. And now having my second model of the Last Dinosaur here, one from Creature Preacher and now one from DopePope, is incredible. So hopefully my paint job has done this model justice. Hopefully you think it turned out pretty nice and pretty reminiscent to what it looks like in the film, because I'm definitely happy with it. But of course, the large majority of why I'm so happy with it is because DopePope did such a great job on the sculpt. Now, another advantage to collecting vintage style dinosaurs is the fact that the tail is usually on the ground, which helps for really nice balance, and you can definitely see that our T-Rex here, our Last Dinosaur T-Rex, has great balance no matter which way you put it. With that tail touching, you're not going to have a problem with the balance. Now, as far as a size goes, the Rex is not probably going to have much of a length, especially considering it's standing so upright, and the tail's curved. So for a length, you're looking at roughly around 9.5 inches or 24 centimeters, so I guess it has a decent length still. But the height would be what we would get most for a vintage-style kind of upright T-Rex. You're looking at a little over 6 3/4 inches, approaching 7 inches, or about 17.5 centimeters, somewhere in that vicinity. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Clovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line. And Mr. Papo T-Rex over here looks like he's trying to emulate his hero, the Last Dinosaur T-Rex, with his tail down on the ground. But if you happen to have one of these models here, one of these figures, this should help to give you an idea of the fact that this Last Dinosaur T-Rex is pretty decently sized. It's definitely a good bit taller than Mr. Papo Rex, and overall has a very nice size to it. One that's not massive, but one that also isn't very small. It's like that perfect size, honestly, especially for a Last Dinosaur T-Rex. But for another comparison, and possibly the coolest comparison possible, we have both versions of my Last Dinosaur T-Rex here. Now, I never in a million years would have expected to own one Last Dinosaur. I have two, and man, that's pretty darn awesome, I will say that. But we have the Creature Preacher version here to the left. We have the DopePope version here to the right, next to each other. You can see the Creature Preacher version is a bit taller and a little bit longer because the tail's outstretched, but you can see both of them are really nice interpretations of the Last Dinosaur T-Rex, which I really love having now. Two versions of this dinosaur. When I started collecting, I never in a million years would have expected to own even one, but having two is incredible. And then when it comes to vintage style dinosaurs, we have one of the most popular brands of vintage dinosaurs out there, which would be the Retrosaurs from Rebor. We have the more Charles R. Knight version of the T-Rex here next to our DopePope version of the Last Dinosaur T-Rex. There aren't very many vintage T-Rex models out there, not near enough if you ask me, so unfortunately I don't have many to compare with the DopePope Last Dinosaur version here, but this one was one that I felt like was pretty much a given to be brought in for a comparison. And then we've got another of my prized possessions here, as we have the DopePope Yongery here next to the DopePope Last Dinosaur, so we can get a good idea of numerous, models from DopePope and how good he truly is when it comes to sculpting his models, and also just to show you again the array of what he produces, as we have a dinosaur and a kaiju, a giant monster here. And even though they are very similar as far as like old school movie monster style, again, monster or dinosaurs, they are also quite a bit different. And it's still super, super cool to have models of each of these because they're both incredibly obscure, especially to have models of them so perfectly done. And then, because we're kind of running a little low on vintage dinosaurs, we've got ourselves some of the randoms as far as the Collect A Deluxe Dimetrodon, the Schleich Diabloceratops, and Safari LTDU Tyrannus here next to our Last Dinosaur from DopePope. And for one final comparison, there is a Mattel Velociraptor and a Mattel Dilophosaurus here next to the Last Dinosaur, just to kind of come in here, stand in for one final comparison. Hopefully you will have had something that I had shown off here, comparison-wise, to give you an idea of the size of this T-Rex. So this DopePope Last Dinosaur Tyrannosaurus Rex is absolutely fantastic. Again, this is definitely one of the most impressive and easily one of my most loved models now in my collection, right there next to the Creature Preacher version, because I grew up watching The Last Dinosaur. I really watched it a lot, probably way more than I should have, and again, I continue to do that to this day. I am still consistently watching this movie. I don't know what it is about it. It's just so fun, so cheesy, and I absolutely love it. So the fact that I now have not one, but two models of our Last Dinosaur T-Rex here in my collection is incredible. And this DopePope version, again, perfectly captures the appearance and the overall feeling of that T-Rex from the films. He, again, has sculpted it out so it looks exactly as it looks in the film. It honestly looks like a man in a suit, very small man here in front of me in a suit, but it does still have that, again, man in a suit look, and he's captured that perfectly, kind of with the saggy head, the wrinkling of the costume, and on top of adding in those aspects, he's also added in a lot of realism to the model as far as like the skin texture and skin wrinkles and muscle definition and things like that that are kind of like making this a mixture of the suit perfectly, but at the same time making it look like if the dinosaur were somehow real at the same time as being a suit. Again, it's just really, really impressive, really well done overall. And the fact that I was able to spend my time painting a Last Dinosaur was also really fun. I actually have one from Creature Preacher here as well to get painted at some point, but I did want to get this one up for review right away and show you guys how incredibly cool this Last Dinosaur is. And hopefully my paint job has done the model justice and done the dinosaur justice. I don't know if it's perfect to what the Last Dinosaur looks like. You guys would have to be the judge as far as that goes. But I tried my best to give it the overall feeling and appearance of that dinosaur. Again, there's not really a whole lot of color on the Last Dinosaur. It's primarily just a grayish tone. So I mostly just added in varying grays and some washes and a little bit of like some khakis and beiges and stuff like that to try to create a little bit of a realistic look for it, but at the same time kind of trying to stay faithful to the original dinosaur from the film. So as a whole, this is an amazing model, and I really recommend not only checking out this model, but all the other models that DopePope produces. So if you are interested in that, I will include a link in the description to DopePope on Instagram, where you can check out all of the things that he is currently creating and the things that he will be creating in the future, like an awesome Gorgo for Titanic Creations, which I cannot wait for. But on top of that, you can check out all of his other social media accounts, which I will include in the description again to allow you to check out his models and places where you can buy his files to print the models out for yourself, and check him out whenever you can find him at any conventions, because he actually sells the physical models at the conventions as well. So definitely worth searching out a DopePope stand whenever you go to any model conventions. And again, make sure you guys let me know down in the comments section what you think about this, and also like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.